Okay, so let's just address it right off the bat. Has EJ been fudging his power data? And the answer is no. And I understand why there's been this flood of comments. EJ makes insane power. It's like peak 1750 watts. That is so much sprint power, you guys. Not to mention he sustains like 1500 for 12 seconds or something. Amazing sprint numbers. Not to mention the dude has an FTP of like 375 watts. He weighs about 175 pounds, to put those numbers in context. So I understand why there's this flood of comments questioning the validity of his power data. I would have guessed, I would have done the same thing. In fact, I did do the same thing. After EJ finished his first block of training in the masterclass, we tested, right? I was like, are you sure you calibrated your power meter? Are you sure there's not a problem? Because I too thought this was way too high. After the second block of training, we tested again on a separate power meter, and I was like, oh my God, this is legit. Since then, he's tested on a third power meter. So now we have 3 data points. It was the Stages SB20, like super accurate, plus or minus 1% stationary bike. And then he was on the Asioma Duo. It's the dual-sided pedal-based power meter. And then finally, his newest power meter is the rotor oval crank-based power meter. They all say the same thing, you guys. So I'm just as shocked and impressed as you are that he is able to make this insane amount of power. So the question becomes, why isn't he just destroying every single race he shows up to? Cat 3, Cat 4, P1, 2. I mean, these are race-winning numbers on a national level. So that's kind of the heart of this conversation I want to have with you guys, which is power is great. It's a tool. It doesn't guarantee race results, even if you have all sorts of it like EJ does. So to prove that point, here's what I did. I took one of the fastest 90-minute criteriums I think I've ever competed in, and that was the Boise Twilight Crit. We averaged close to 31 miles an hour for 90 minutes. Insane. But I feel like I had a good race there. I was very efficient. As you can see, all it took was an average of 227 watts for me to be able to go that fast on my bike for 90 minutes because my cornering was on point, my drafting was on point, my mechanics are on point, everything was dialed. I was extremely efficient. And for that reason, I'm able to do a really high rate of speed for a really low amount of energy. Turns out these things are incredibly important in bike racing. It's not just who has the biggest power numbers. So here's the interesting part. I took that same race and I deleted all of the power data from that file, and I re-uploaded it to Strava, and I wanted to see how Strava estimates power. Because the way that Strava estimates your power if you don't have a power meter is it assumes you're by yourself with no wind, and it actually does a really good job, but we've tested this in the past. The estimated power in Strava is quite accurate, but it doesn't take into account the fact that I'm drafting other riders. So in a race, it will just pretend like you're by yourself. So what were the results of that? I uploaded that ride, and it assumed I was doing 488 watts of average power for that hour and a half race in order to average 31 miles an hour, which is completely different than 227 watts. So the point here is drafting is incredibly important. Cornering is incredibly important. Efficiency and all these things that I preach on this channel, I teach you guys on this channel, is extremely important. You can't just brute force your way to wins at a certain level. EJ was having success as a category 5, as a category 4, and even as a category 3, he's still having some success, but he's starting to have to depend on these other extremely important components of bike racing that aren't just brute force into the bike, because that only gets you so far. You have to depend on these other skills. That's what we're focused on moving forward with EJ, because I think I'm not worried about his training anymore. The masterclass has done him solid. Like, I'm not saying everybody who signs up for the Couch to Crit masterclass is going to benefit as much as EJ has, but hopefully people see a big benefit. It's been a tough flood of positive feedback so far, but now the most important thing for EJ is to look at the course material in the masterclass, do more practice races, and work on those drills and those skills that we talk about, because he has this ability, he has this talent, has the potential to win him national level races if he can hone the other important components of the sport. So that's it. Short one for you today. I appreciate you hanging in there. And as always, catch you guys in the next one.